There was a moment, you remember it, when you were certain about someone, not just comfortable with them, certain. The kind of certainty that makes you stop checking your words before you speak. The kind that makes you share what you would not share with anyone else. The kind that feels for a while like finally being known. And then something happened. Maybe it was a single moment, clear and undeniable. Maybe it was quieter than that. A pattern noticed too late. A loyalty that turned out to have conditions you were never told about. A version of you that someone held carefully. Right up until holding you carefully was no longer useful to them. Friedrich Nietzsche believed that most human suffering that comes from other people does not come from enemies. It comes from misplaced trust, from giving to people what they had not yet proven they could hold. Tonight, not how to stop trusting people, but how to trust with the intelligence the question actually deserves. 5 signs that someone has genuinely earned what you are about to give them. And one truth about what trust, done this way, makes possible. Nietzsche's framework for trust. Most of us were never taught how to trust. We were taught that openness is virtue, that vulnerability builds connection, that giving people the benefit of the doubt is generosity. And sometimes it is. But Nietzsche observed something those lessons leave out. Trust is not a feeling. It is an assessment. Feeling warmth toward someone is not the same as knowing them. Feeling safe with someone is not the same as having evidence they are safe. The fact that someone has never betrayed you yet is not the same as them being incapable of it. Nietzsche wrote that most people extend trust through emotion, through the comfort someone makes them feel, through shared history that has never been truly tested, through the story they want to believe about who this person is. The problem is that emotion is an unreliable instrument for this particular job, because the person who is genuinely trustworthy and the person who is skilled at appearing trustworthy can feel almost identical until the moment they do not. What separates them is never the feeling they produce. It is always the behavior they demonstrate, repeatedly, over time, especially when it costs them something. 5 behaviors, 5 signs, each one an observable test, not a feeling. Sign 1, they tell you hard truths without cruelty. This is rarer than it sounds. Most people in your life will not tell you difficult things. Not because they are cruel, because they are careful. Careful of conflict, careful of your reaction, careful of the discomfort that honest conversation costs. So they say nothing, or they say the comfortable version, and you walk forward with an incomplete picture because the people around you preferred your comfort to your clarity. Nietzsche held honesty as one of the rarest and most valuable human qualities. Not brutal honesty, that is often just cruelty wearing a principle as a costume, but the specific courage it takes to say a hard thing to someone you care about, at personal cost to yourself, because their well-being matters more to you than the ease of the moment. The person who has done that for you, who told you something true that you did not want to hear, and did it without relish, without agenda, without making it about themselves, is someone who has already demonstrated something essential. They value your reality more than your approval. That is a foundation worth building on. Sign 2. Their behavior holds when no one is watching. Pay attention to who someone is in the moments that don't matter. Not the grand gestures, not the visible acts of loyalty in rooms full of people who will notice. The small things. How they speak about others when those others are not present. Whether they keep commitments that no one would know they broke. How they treat people who have nothing to offer them. Nietzsche understood that character is not what we perform. Character is what persists when the performance has no audience. The person who is generous only when generosity is visible is not a generous person. They are a strategic one. The loyalty that exists only while it is convenient is not loyalty. It is investment, and investments get withdrawn when the return disappears. What you are looking for is the person whose behavior does not meaningfully change based on whether they are being observed. Because that consistency, quiet, unremarkable, sustained, is the only evidence of genuine character that exists. Everything else is theater. Sign 3. They have never used your weakness against you. Think carefully about this one. Over time, in any real relationship, people see you at your lowest. They learn what hurts you. They collect, without necessarily intending to, the specific information that could be used to wound you most precisely. What do they do with it? Nietzsche believed this was the definitive test of a person's character. Not what they do with your strengths, but what they do with your vulnerabilities. A person who has held your weakness and chosen in every argument, in every moment of frustration, in every situation where using it would have given them the advantage, to set it down instead, to fight fairly, to leave the wound alone. That restraint is not small. It is the single most revealing thing a person can demonstrate, because the temptation is always there, and choosing not to is always a choice. The person who has made that choice consistently, who has sat with the knowledge of exactly where you break and decided again and again not to press, that person has passed a test most people never even set. Sign 4. They don't need you to be more than you are. This one is subtle, but once you see it, you cannot unsee it. There are people in your life whose investment in you is quietly conditional. They are present when you are performing well, when you are ascending, when you are useful, when the version of you they believe in is the one showing up. But in the ordinary moments, the uncertain ones, the ones where you have no news, no progress, no achievement to report, something shifts. They become slightly less engaged. The warmth cools by degrees so small you almost miss them. Nietzsche was deeply suspicious of relationships built on potential, on what someone might become, on the future version of you that someone has decided to invest in, because that investment is not in you. It is in their idea of you. And the moment you fail to match it, or simply choose a different direction, the relationship reveals its actual foundation. The person worth trusting is the one who is fully present in the unremarkable version of your life, who does not require your success as the price of their attention, who is there not because of where you are going, but because of who you already are. Sign 5. Time has already tested them, and they held. This is the sign that cannot be faked, and it is the only one that cannot be performed. Has this person been through something real with you? Not surface difficulty, genuine pressure, a situation where disappearing would have been easier than staying, a moment where their loyalty cost them something tangible, a point where their behavior was no longer low stakes and they still showed up as the person they had always presented themselves to be. Nietzsche believed that character without pressure is just reputation, and reputation is something anyone can construct given enough time and enough people watching. Real character is what remains when the pressure is applied, when the stakes are actual, when disappearing is genuinely available as an option and someone chooses, at cost to themselves, not to take it. The person who has already passed that test, not in theory, not by what they said they would do, but in practice, in real circumstances, under real weight, that person has given you something no amount of warmth or charm can substitute for: evidence. And evidence is the only currency trust should ever be paid in. The performance of trustworthiness. One necessary warning before we close: everything in this framework can be performed. The hard truth delivered with careful timing. The consistent behavior maintained long enough to establish a pattern. The restraint around your weakness visible enough that you notice it. The presence in your ordinary life. Strategic, calibrated, patient. Nietzsche was clear-eyed about this. He understood that human beings are capable of extraordinary long-term performance when the reward at the end is worth the effort. The difference between someone who embodies these signs and someone who performs them cannot always be detected immediately, but there is one place it always eventually surfaces: in what happens when the relationship becomes inconvenient, when you need something they cannot easily give, when supporting you costs more than it returns, when the version of you they signed up for changes into something they did not expect. The genuine person recalibrates. The performer withdraws. Watch for that moment, not with suspicion, but with attention, because that moment, whenever it comes, is the most honest thing a person will ever show you. What real trust makes possible? Here is what this framework is not saying. It is not saying trust no one. It is not saying stay closed, stay defended, stay careful until the end. It is not saying that connection is a trap or that openness is a weakness. Nietzsche was not a cynic. He was a realist, and there is an important difference. What he understood, and what the 5 signs are designed to help you find, is that trust given wisely to the right people is one of the most powerful forces available to a human being. Because when you are genuinely known by someone who has earned the right to know you, when you can speak without editing, be uncertain without performance, fail without losing the relationship, something becomes possible that is not possible any other way. Real collaboration, real honesty, real rest, the kind of connection where you do not spend energy managing how you are perceived because you already know who you are to this person, and it is not conditional on anything you have yet to prove. That is what trust, done Nietzsche's way, actually builds toward. Not walls, but the wisdom to know which doors are worth opening and the patience to wait until someone has proved they deserve to walk through. Summary: 5 signs. They tell you hard truth at personal cost without cruelty. Their behavior holds when there is no audience for it. They have held your weakness and chosen consistently not to use it. They are present in the ordinary version of your life, not only the ascending one. And time, when it applied real pressure, revealed them as exactly who they said they were. How many people in your life pass all 5? Be honest with that question, not to make yourself feel lonely, to make yourself feel clear, because clarity about who is genuinely in your corner is not a small thing. It changes how you move, what you share, what you protect, who you build with, and who you quietly, respectfully stop giving access to. Nietzsche did not believe in closing yourself off from the world. He believed in bringing enough discernment to it that when you finally open, when you finally give someone the real thing, it lands somewhere that deserves it. Trust is not something you hand to the people who ask for it. It is something you give to the people who have already earned it without knowing you were watching. Drop a comment and tell us, how many people in your life pass all 5 signs? We read every single one. Subscribe to Booked Wisdom for weekly philosophy and psychology, delivered simply, honestly, and without performance. See you in the next one.